This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. It's like never ending with these two. So today in The Guardian, I'm pretty sure that the Sussex team has put this out because we have this court case going on, but more whining and moaning. And I just want to go over it because it just goes to show how unbearable these two are becoming. And at some point, you're going to have even the media not wanting to go near this couple if this is the headache that they're going to continuously keep putting on people. They just do shit to make people annoyed and irritated, and this is a perfect example. So it says here, the Daily Mail's aggressive approach to reporting on Prince Harry and Meghan's Australian visit has irreparably damaged the Sussex's ability to brief press ahead of trips, Guardian Australia has been told. The Daily Mail's Australian website broke an embargo by publishing details of the royal couple's movements 5 days before they landed in Melbourne, despite that information being strictly non-publishable until they arrived. These two idiots are acting as if this so-called embargo applies around the world. Maybe in the UK they have rules and regulations on when things can be published because we know that the royal family has a lockdown on the media. But in the United States, who gives a shite about when information is put out? This is freedom of the press, and that's your own fault, Meghan and Harry, thinking that you're putting an embargo? Who the hell are these two? The Mail reported under wraps details about the location of the stops in Melbourne, Sydney, and Canberra, as well as background notes and a Q&A against the instructions given to media by the royal pair's team. Okay, so stop for a second. Isn't Harry suing the Daily Mail? Why is he giving the Daily Mail information? You're suing this newspaper and you're still working with them? Make it make sense. And by the way, it's off-putting that they're writing this article and referring to these two as the royal couple. Well, Harry and Meghan live in the United States, and their names are Harry and Meghan Mountbatten Windsor. We don't address them by their titles, nor do we give a shit to address them by their titles. They are not royalty here in the United States. The Guardian has been told the Sussex's media office complained, resulting in the Daily Mail report being taken down. Sources close to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex also allege the Daily Mail followed the advanced security team from the airport and reported on their movements with fears that the safety of Harry and Meghan was compromised. So do you see how manipulative these two are by putting this article out there? They know that there's a decision that's coming pertaining to their security case and also a decision coming to Harry's lawsuit that likely is probably going to be egg on his face. So they're putting this out there and they're just looking like jackasses. The Daily Mail has been approached for comment. The breach will have a major impact on the way the couple deal with all media in the future, as it showed the tradition of embargoed information is not respected by some media, sources said. Again, it goes back to people don't care. The thing is, Meghan and Harry, the more you piss people off, the more people are not going to want to work with you. That's why Netflix dumped both of you. The leak meant that Harry and Meghan's itinerary had to be changed at the 11th hour and that the police involvement in their security had to be increased, an unpopular aspect of the pair's trip to Australia, which was criticized as a waste of taxpayer money. Indeed it was. Agreed. Victoria Police had told the media it would deploy resources as necessary to ensure community safety. NSW police confirmed they had provided some additional security measures. Wink, wink. Sources said there was an aggressive escalation in the Mail's reporting, which led to aspects of the tour being changed, including the ability to brief journalists ahead of time as the couple moved from Melbourne to Sydney and Harry traveled to Canberra. Meghan's PR team criticized the Mail, Sky News Australia, and the UK's Daily Mirror last week. Media from the Daily Mail, the Daily Mirror, and Sky News Australia unfortunately reported on sensitive, embargoed information, complicating and compromising security arrangements, a spokesperson from Meghan's PR team said last week. We are therefore no longer sharing itineraries beyond the initial ops note with media for the remainder of the trip. The statement led to an angry response from Sky News, which said it did not break the embargo and was merely reporting on information already in the public domain. Yes, agreed. Their person, Liam McGuire, had put that out there. So, for them to keep doing this, it's fatiguing, it's irritating, and people are just sick of it. The Daily Mail in the UK has a hostile relationship with Harry and Meghan. Oh, yeah, we know. A case brought by Prince Harry, Elton John, and his husband, David Furnish, the actors Sadie Frost and Elizabeth Hurley, the campaigner, Doreen Lawrence, and the former politician, Simon Hughes, against the publisher of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday, has just wrapped up in London. The allegations, which included phone hacking, landline tapping, and bugging celebrity houses, have been denied by the publisher. And you know what? To be honest, this little article, even though it's gaslighting the public, is not going to matter one bit. So I hope this starts to turn some of these media outlets off and they just stop reporting on them, because part of the problem that we have here is the media pushing out nonstop articles about these two. Why even bother with the headache? Clearly, these two will flip on a dime. But anyhow, finishing off this puff piece, it says, during the trial, Prince Harry accused the Daily Mail of wanting to drive him to drugs and drinking by placing his life under surveillance. Recent stories on the Australian Daily Mail website are overwhelmingly negative about Meghan, saying she glared at an advisor who touched her husband. She talked about her very hard life after appearing at a luxury wellness retreat, and that the event she headlined had failed to sell out. Well, none of that is false, right? I mean, we all have two eyes and we see what's going on. Just because Meghan doesn't like what people have to say doesn't mean that it's wrong. They criticized her outfits as stiff, impractical, and worst of all, horribly aging. Oh no! But of course, they failed to mention inappropriate, especially the one that she was wearing on Bondi Beach that resembled a Holocaust costume. Honestly, they just need to get a clue, but they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing with this article. Some events were not forecast on the embargoed briefing notes, including a surprise visit to Bondi Beach to meet survivors of the Bondi Beach terror attack on their final day so Meghan can merge her clothes. Harry and Meghan met emergency workers who also responded to the attack, as well as representatives of the Sydney Jewish Museum, which is opening an exhibition on the massacre. Of course, Meghan had to exploit all of that. And she's upset that people are criticizing her. Well, don't do stupid things. And this is exactly what they seem to either get or don't get. But either way, they're putting out bullshit articles like this and pissing people off. And I have no doubt that Daily Mail's looking at this and being like, what the heck? They gave us this information and it was already out there. And who are they to criticize, what we can say? But then again, these two truly are behaving as if they are back on the royal roster. And that embargo means that you can't do anything because you're under the crown. It's a different story here in the United States. So whether Meghan likes it or not, we're allowed to express and critically criticize these two for not only their hypocrisy, but also the harm that they are causing to people's mental health with this constant saturation of garbage polluting the media space. The sheer arrogance of Meghan and Harry being pissed off that the embargo was violated. They are some important people. They're not. They're nobodies trying to act like somebodies, and it's making it worse for them. And the worst part about it is not just Harry and Meghan. It's their team that's putting out these articles, which shows their own arrogance and thinking that they have importance and that, they're working for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and that, we're just going to hammer this this message home that they're royals, right? Like, this is what makes me bananas. Like, you have people that actually want to do this couple's bidding, it just makes them look worse. When I look at Miranda Barbeau, who used to work for Obama, you can understand that entitled attitude. Harry and Meghan act as if they're so much better than the rest of the world and that they're so important that their privacy needs to be protected at all costs, but have no problem exploiting other people because to them, they're not on the same level. And that's the disgusting thing when it comes to these two, because you have two entitled assholes here in America who nobody gives a shit about. And yes, if Meghan, you're listening out there, no, nobody gives a shit about you. And if we stop talking about you, you would be nothing. So be grateful that at least you have us talking about you and keeping your name in the headlines. No one cares if your feelings are hurt, Meghan. Honestly, you really have no impact on anything or anyone. You bring it on yourself, and is why people get frustrated and talk negatively about you. You can't be a hypocrite and purposely gaslight people, and people just sit back and take it in and think you're like the best thing since sliced bread. It's not going to happen, Meghan. Whatever world that you're living in, please come out of it, because that's not where everybody else is living. And, until you can figure that out, you're going to be very disappointed every single time. Like, it's so pathetic seeing how thin-skinned these two are, and they give us content to laugh at, because at this point, it's just so ridiculous seeing how immature and childish these two behave. It's almost as if, specifically Meghan, is mentally stunted at age 11, like she hasn't grown past that. And Harry, let's not even talk about him. We know his issues and how mentally troubled he is. But these two have no business mentoring and influencing anybody else when they don't even have a grasp on their own selves. You know what I mean? I know we're all sick of these two. I understand that, but it's important to show how they manipulate the media and they weaponize it. I really do hope there comes a day where the media is we don't want to talk about these two because they're too much of a liability. At some point, people are just going to be not wanting to be near them, work with them, or even talk about them because you see how they behave. They can't handle it. They really can't. All Meghan wants is press out in the media that shows how fabulous and awesome she is, or at least, making her think that the world sees her in that way. But we don't. We never will see you that way, Meghan. You've done enough damage that the internet is forever. And I know very much these two are working so hard to clean that up and trying to silence voices, but it's not going to happen. What these two fail to understand is that when one voice goes down, 10 more voices come up against them. So, they can continue to have this battle or just ignore it and be normal. If you don't want people talking about you and criticizing you, then don't do stupid things. Be more aware of how you get under people's skin. Be more aware of how you make it about yourself. And be more aware of how people see you as greedy, selfish, and opportunistic. Yeah, and I know that this is hopeful thinking. We all know that these two are mentally incapable of understanding this because they're not willing to listen to why people see them the way that they do and not making any kind of effort to change. So if you're going to continue to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect to get a different outcome, then you're going to be disappointed. I've said this from day one. The only way that these two will be stopped is one, either they run out of money, or two, they both end up in prison. Otherwise, it's going to continue. It's not going to stop. Or at least I don't see it stopping anytime soon, because there's obviously someone behind them funding all of this, putting out all this PR and going to Australia and doing all that they did is not cheap. It really isn't. So the question is, where are they getting the funds from? We know that these two are shysters. We know that they're shady as hell and they don't like to put their hands in their pockets for anything. So who funded all of it? And who's been funding all of this god-awful PR that's being pumped out and polluting the media space? Because that's exactly what's going on right now. I'd love to know your thoughts. I think that a lot of what Harry and Meghan do is out of distraction. Did anybody realize that last week we had something come up about Prince Andrew and King Charles and how, there appears to be some sort of cover up when it comes to Epstein and Mendelssohn, but not many people are talking about it. And I don't know if it has anything to do with all the noise that we heard around Harry and Meghan, which perhaps maybe that's why the palace didn't step in or say anything or stop it. Maybe it was to suppress this noise, but I'd love to know what you think. Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
It was such a fraud.